But I would say I don't think most people's money in the bank is at risk during that period. But to the point that you made earlier, if you're making 0.8% in the banks and you're taking the risk, why wouldn't you just park it over at the Fed at and make the 5.25% and have no bank risk? And people are certainly waking up to that. And that's also causing this to, continue to accelerate. So I think certainly we're probably going to see more banks collapse, but I do think that the money in the banks is safe. And the reason why I say that is because, well, one, we've just seen that the Fed, the government, did backstop all the depositors' money. They didn't backstop the banks. The banks went out of business. The equity holders got wiped out, but the depositors were saved. And I think that's going to continue because it has to. And the reason why it has to is because the banking system is it's a confidence game. We have to have confidence that it works. It's a con game. They don't have our money, but they have to con us into thinking they do. And the problem is, if we lose that confidence, if a few people lose their money, everyone's going to freak out and pull their money out of the banks. If that happens, the entire house of cards comes down. In a Ponzi, you can't let the bubble deflate. You can only let it keep going up. So I think money in the bank is safe. The problems that we really get from having the bank consolidation, having the small banks go under and then consolidate up to bigger banks, is two things. One, it changes the makeup of the bank. So the banking system, what most people maybe don't understand, we talk about like the Federal Reserve or the central banks printing money, and it's kind of a fun way to say it. The reality is it's the banks that create the money, and they create it through issuing debt. When you take a car, house, boat, whatever loan, that money's created into existence. So what happens is, as they consolidate down these banks, one, the banks are worried about going out of business, so they're hoarding money. They're not making as many loans. If they don't make as many loans, the money supply starts contracting. Businesses aren't getting funded. That means growth stops. That means the economy starts getting hammered. And then as the banks consolidate, right now it's very decentralized. I have like local banks. Now I don't have a relationship with my local bank. My local bank doesn't know what I need in my local area. Now the decision's being made by JP Morgan over in New York, who doesn't know me or know what I need. And so then we start seeing the composition of those loans going from small local businesses to big, major multinational conglomerates. And so it starts to also change the entire makeup of that. So it's very dangerous from those perspectives. But I would say I don't think most people's money in the bank is at risk during that period. But to the point that you made earlier, if you're making 0.8% in the banks and you're taking the risk, why wouldn't you just park it over at the Fed at the and make the 5.25% and have no bank risk? And people are certainly waking up to that, and that's also causing this to continue to accelerate. Hey, this is Mark Moss, and you are watching Think Smart Education.